Greetings out there, it's David Duford again here from Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com, and today I'm super excited to share with you a brand new entry to the Final Expense business. Today we're going to talk about Great Western Life Insurance's brand new Final Expense life insurance product, and boy, I think by the time we're done talking about this, you're going to see that obviously this is a game-changing final expense product. You're going to be very excited about what it can do, what it will do to fill some gaps in your existing final expense product portfolio. And just as important, you'll learn where some of the downsides are in writing them. But at the end, I think, like I said, you'll see the obvious use and obvious reasons to pick them up. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's the overview today. So we're going to first talk about who I am, if you haven't met me before and don't know exactly what I do. Next, we'll move over to a brief overview of the Great Western Life Insurance Company, and then get into the thick of the pros and the cons of final expense with the Great Western Life Insurance Company, and then conclude about how to get involved and get contracted to sell Great Western. Now, who am I? My name is David Duford. Again, like I said, I am the owner and operator of Final Expense Agent Mentor. There's my website listed conveniently for you. It's feagentmentor.com. What I do and what I specialize in is field training, phone training, both brand new life insurance agents interested in the final expense business, as well as those already licensed but looking to get involved more in the final expense business. What makes me different from a lot of agencies out there is that my focus is on the individual agent. I want to personally train and focus my efforts on personally training every single one of my agents that come aboard, not just offering training, but also offering a system of success, a duplicatable sales and marketing model to get agents up and running so that they can go out and succeed selling final expense life insurance. One of the few things that makes me very different from very many other agencies is that I actually get out there and sell this stuff. Many of the agencies out there constantly marketing you really don't have any field experience. So the kind of information that they can dispense is based upon their brief, limited understanding from the outside in of final expense. Whereas what I do is all based on reality. It's based on the in-the-trenches results and hard knocks that you actually get from being a field agent. So all the information I'm about to give to you based off of Great Western, and really all of my videos, is based on what it's really like, not from some BS fantasy a lot of these marketers tend to sell you. So let's get started into Great Western. So Great Western Life Insurance Company has been in business since 1983. I've heard a little bit about them over the years, but they primarily have been a pre-need funeral insurance company. For those of you who don't know what a pre-need company is basically a funeral life insurance policy. Your applicants would go into the funeral home, talk to a funeral director, and sign a contract for Great Western to insure their funeral. That's been their primary focus until as of late, where they've now gotten into the final expense market. They're out of Ogden, Utah, and they are licensed in 46 states, including the District of Columbia. Now, what are some of the benefits to the Great Western's final expense product? So this is just a brief overview. We'll go into slides covering in more depth about each. The biggest benefit is that there is simply no medical information bureau check, nor is there a prescription check. The application itself is very liberal, with a lot of different health issues and medication schedules. And lastly, there is a really good guaranteed issue product along with the level product that pays well and is competitively priced. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so as you can see by that image to the right, everybody's happy. Those are final expense agents. And why are they happy? Because now there's a product that they don't have to worry about all the administrative and technical stuff related to prescription and medical information bureau checks. Beyond you actually getting out there and talking to your client and making sure that they can ethically and honestly answer each question on the application the correct way, as long as they answer everything no, your product, your policy will be issued as applied for, because the Great Western does not do any sort of MIB or prescription check. They just allow you as the agent to field underwrite what you have and then issue it as it's applied for. So what's the benefit to this if you can't see it obviously? Well, the biggest benefit is that what you write gets issued as applied for. If you're a final expense agent with any sort of experience beyond a couple of months, you know there's a lot of companies out there that will amend your policies, that will rate up your policies, that will do a lot of things to slow down the issue of your policy, which means, and is translated as, slows down you getting paid and your customer getting covered. This is not going to be a problem with Great Western, period. Without any of those requirements that normal and most insurance companies have for their final expense products, you won't have to worry about that. So there's a lot of applications, as we'll get into, of where this is the most useful. But for you guys out there who are experienced, this should be like an aha, no duh moment as far as why this is such a great thing. Now, building upon the first obvious benefit is that the application itself is extremely liberal anyways. This is probably, as of 2015, the most liberal final expense product I have ever seen since a few years ago when 5-Star Life Insurance rolled out the product. There is literally all sorts of conditions you can now get approved with Great Western that nobody else would either approve as a level product or would even issue in many cases. So let's go over some of those details. So first of all, how does the application actually work? Well, there's a particular question on the application where there's a 2-year look back on your most common health issues, pretty much heart issues, lung issues, so on and so forth. But in conjunction with that, there's a clarification point on the application that says, in effect, as long as your applicant has been taking a medication for 2 years, we count that as a maintenance medication, and you can say no to this product. You can say no to the question that's answered or asked. So this is extremely powerful. Okay, as you'll find out here in a minute, Great Western isn't a low price leader, and there are a lot of situations where other products will be better. But where this is going to have the most useful application are on conditions that normally are hard to cover. For example, congestive heart failure. This will be one of the first products you can get first full day coverage for with congestive heart failure. Other tough to place cardiac conditions. All sorts of chronic respiratory problems, chronic liver diseases, neurological issues like Parkinson's, and height-weight issues. They don't have a height and weight chart. So this is where this product is absolutely incredible. You will get your customers an excellent deal at a decent price, whereas most companies wouldn't even consider it. Now, it isn't foolproof. I mean, there are some obvious things that they do, the company has implemented in its agent guide, and I pull it up here if I had it handy. For example, to not issue level coverage, for example, HIV and AIDS is not going to get level coverage. You can get guaranteed issue with them. Oxygen usage will not. I'm pretty sure dialysis will not either. So there are some conditions that you're not going to get anywhere with anyway. But, nevertheless, there are a heck of a lot that you will be able to get coverage for level benefits, so it'll make up more for it, more than enough for it. Alright, so talking about the guaranteed issue product. So, where I like this product the most is that for you guys that have been selling final expense, you know that there also is a lot of guaranteed issue products available. If you've been in it longer than 4 years, it used to be there wasn't anything. You may be able to write some high-priced, overpriced junk, but now we have so many at our disposal, it's just really nice and useful in our final expense sales business. Now here's where the Great Western guaranteed issue product fits in the most. First of all, they cover ages 40 to 80, so that 40 to 50 bracket usually is harder to get guaranteed issue coverage for. You're going to be able to get them with this product. There's an actual advance that you get on this, okay? A lot of the best GI company I know of is Gerber as far as pricing goes, but they don't advance, all right? And look, it's good not to be on an advance from a risk prevention standpoint, but you got to get paid too. And part of getting an advance is funding your cost of doing business, which is your marketing. So if you write a bunch of Gerber GI, it's not necessarily good in the beginning. Long run is better, but not necessarily in the beginning. So with the GI product through Great Western, you're going to have that covered and get a partial advance. The coverage options are from $1,000 to $40,000. That's fantastic. It actually pays renewals. The renewals are very strong. Again, Gerber does not pay renewals. You're going to get renewals here. And again, it all really comes down to price. I mean, if this guaranteed issue product was a ripoff, I wouldn't even be promoting it. I wouldn't bother. But it's priced competitively between Gerber and Kemper. So it's easier to write a product like this as long as you're not totally ripping your customer off. You want it to be competitive. It doesn't have to be the low price leader, but it's going to be easier to write this guaranteed issue product comparably to others, even though there are some cheaper alternatives, because you're going to get them a decent price. Okay, let's talk about drawbacks of the Great Western's products. There are some definite drawbacks to using this company as a bread and butter, because at this point all I've done is extolled the praise of this final expense product. But let me temper my enthusiasm with a few points that you really need to consider before using them any more than just a niche product. So here's the main drawbacks. First of all, there's a maximum 6-month advance. Okay, that's not a big deal. We can deal with that. Second of all, there's a max $500 advance. So if you write a big case, I wrote a big case the other day, it's going to pay probably, it's $2,400, $2,500 a year annual premium. I'm just going to get a $500 advance on it. After a couple months, I'm going to have a continual as-earned stream, which I'm not complaining about that, but I'm not going to get the big payday like I would with a lot of other carriers. So your comp is going to be limited with those two functions. And this last bullet point is the biggest problem I have with Great Western, and that there is a full chargeback on lapses and not takens that occur within the first 90 days of the policy being issued. So if Mildred has your Great Western plan, she's paid 2 months in, the third month premium is going to withdraw in the next 5 days, and she decides to can it, you owe that full advance back plus the first 2 months that she paid in. So you don't get anything for any of your effort. Whereas all carriers, for the most part, are going to pay are going to pay as earned, or let you keep what you actually earn when she paid in. So you have that risk in addition to the others of low payout. And then it's higher than competitive pricing for non-smokers. And the reason for this is that the application itself doesn't ask about any kind of smoking usage. So what that really ultimately means is that smokers get a better price because they're not being asked, whereas non-smokers get a higher price. So you're going to see some discrepancy pricing-wise according to that. But like I said, this is another reason you're not going to want to use these for your bread and butter business, because you're going to have smokers and non-smokers, and you're not really going to get a good price for the non-smokers. Lastly here, I think this is a problem from their marketing standpoint. Great Western seems to be creative in how they design their products. If you look through the agent guide, there's a lot of additional add-ons that I'm not talking about because I don't necessarily would use it, but they're like they've got a pretty good grandchild rider that's cheap. They've got I think a terminal medical illness rider as well. And one of the things they try to promote is that if you qualify for the level plan, we're going to give you 120% or 20% higher face amount. But what happens is they have one rate chart, and they leave it up to the agent to calculate the 20% extra. Problem with that, again, this is no offense to the company per se, but the problem is when you let a non-producing agent design the product and how to structure them from a marketing standpoint, it's just going to totally confuse the sales process. So, for example, here's what I mean. If the pricing is all issued in the guaranteed issue format on a per thousand basis. So you got to calculate by longhand. They don't give you a face chart or anything. You got to calculate by longhand what that ultimate amount will be. If it's level, you're going to add 20% to it. Okay, well that's easy. You know, if it's 10,000, 20% of 10,000 is 2,000, so it's a 12,000 face. But the problem here is that that's not how any of us actually operate. Okay, if your prospect wants an $8,000 plan, right, and it's a level plan he wants, well, what's 20% of 8,000? Okay, so you've got to figure out what 20% of 8,000 is, and you've got to multiply that into the you have to find out what. So you can obviously see, even me describing it, it's a confusing process. You've got to do backwards math in order to figure out what that number ultimately is. And what's going to happen, I foresee, is that it's just going to confuse a lot of people. The product's not going to get issued right in a lot of circumstances. So some marketer just did not understand product design and how to calculate premiums and face amounts accordingly so that it's going to get issued in a timely manner. So one of the things I do, I'll just kind of throw this in as an add-on. One of the things I do is that I give my agents a chart based on whether they're going to get the level amount or the guaranteed issue amount with that corresponding price, so that it's easier to determine what the actual face amount is going to be. So I worked that out. I did a spreadsheet on it. So we've got most of the more common face amounts to be able to figure that out. So those are the biggest drawbacks there. So in conclusion, I am of the utmost persuasion that the Great Western product is a game-changing final expense life insurance product. And I think that wherever Great Western is available, every single final expense agent should be picking them up. There are obvious drawbacks to this product. Make no bones about it. However, the way the product from an application standpoint is designed, the way it's designed from the lack of a prescription and MIB check, and then basically virtually guaranteeing that this product will be issued as applied for, virtually 100% of the time, more than makes up for the obvious drawbacks. Now, the niche that I see, and that's the thing, is that with the drawbacks, with the obvious advantages, for me, in my business as a life insurance final expense agent, and for my agencies, I look at Great Western still as a niche product. It is not a bread and butter product because of the disadvantages. But with that said, it will be a fantastic product to fill in the many gaps that many and most of the final expense companies out there have. For example, with all the issues I mentioned, chronic issues like liver issues, chronic lung problems, congestive heart failure, chronic cardiac problems, these are going to be where you use this product the most, where others will rate it up, where others will give partial coverage. You'll be able to replace a lot of coverage with this product that you normally couldn't, and it's just going to be ultimately a very powerful product to get out there and sell because of the obvious advantages in those niche situations. So with that said, this is one of those I'm very enthusiastic about. I'm recording this video in the beginning of the rollout of this product, and there is mass excitement across the board. The contracting process is a little slower than I want it to be, but the obvious benefit of using them is still there. So I highly encourage you, if you have the opportunity to pick up this product, do so. This is a great product, and the advantages are so good that you really need to take advantage while it's there. Historically in this business, products with super liberal backgrounds like this don't last for long. All one needs to do is look at the 5-star life insurance ride up and ride down over the past couple of years from about 2013 to 2015. And you can see why you may need to kind of enjoy this while it lasts. And if your upline doesn't have Great Western, if you are enthused buy a product that can be as powerful like this, and you can see an immediate benefit to using it in your final expense business, I want you to reach out to me at feagentmentor.com. I'll be more than happy to discuss with you commission levels, what we can do for you, and find ways that we can add this to your product portfolio. Again, check my website out. It's feagentmentor.com. I want to thank you very much for listening to this video, and y'all take care. Have a good one.